consistency that I use when I'm doing larger services like legs. And whenever you see those videos of me laying those massive strips and you guys are like, how'd you get so much wax on your stick? This is how I do it, ladies and gentlemen. I just pull from the edges into that tackier wax and I get this nice honeycomb on my stick. I'm gonna demonstrate how I do those strips on my lower legs right now. I'm just gonna mix up the wax. Remember, whenever you're getting ready to pull wax, always make sure that you get a good mix on your warmer, because since I left this uncovered, what happens with the cool air, it starts to just really cool the wax down significantly at the top, creating like a film, kind of like if you left pudding in the refrigerator with no top, it creates that gross film. That's kind of a similar consistency that you get with wax when it's left uncovered. All right, I've turned my warmer back on. We have it full. We mixed it. I'm gonna get a clean stick, so a new stick. I find that if I were to use this again, it just gets in the way of creating that perfect cotton candy, honeycomb vibe. All right, so let's get a nice, that's good. And I'm just gonna cut the wax, take it all the way down to my ankle, and create that lip at the end. Lift your stick. This is perfect consistency and it's ready to go. So remember, I don't have to touch it, I don't have to pat it, it's ready to go. Lift that lip. And it's nice. It got all those hairs from the root. And let me tell you, there's a lot of hairs, okay? You're working with a 5-pound warmer. You don't really have to play with the temperature gauge as much because there's so much wax in there already at consistency. I'm gonna show you how not to lay a strip. So when you go to pull wax, you don't really wanna dip in like that. I like to kind of give it a little twirl. And what you want to end up with is kind of like cotton candy, right? Just like a little mound there on your stick. When you go to lay the wax, don't wipe it off like that because it's gonna create an uneven drop. And then when you go to lay the strip, avoid buttering. Buttering is when you lay your stick flat and you're not giving any leverage to that wax. So really, you're creating uneven edges and you're not giving yourself an appropriate edge to remove the strip. So you're left with this kind of ugly, blotchy strip that could potentially just break hairs and cause more damage than really remove any hair. Also, it's very wasteful. When you lay strips like this, you're just wasting your wax, okay? If you do lay this strip on a client and now you're stressed out because there's no edge, you don't know how to lift it, don't pick at it, don't pinch at it, because remember there's a client behind that strip, and if you're pinching and pulling, that's really uncomfortable to the client. What I would recommend, there's a couple of things you can do. You can take your stick and try and lift that edge. That's not my preference. That is an option, but I wouldn't go that route. I would just pull more wax. I would lay on top of the existing strip, guide it all the way down, and I would just create a lip. And by creating a lip, I just lift my stick up and allow that wax to gently fall and roll off the stick, naturally creating a border, or a lip as I like to call it, that you can now grip onto. So what that wax is doing is it's reheating the edges that were initially laid, and now you have somewhere to pinch, lift, and pull without causing damage to the client's skin. A couple things to keep in mind when you're waxing your legs is you may have a reaction afterwards. Your skin may get a little bit red. You might see those little red dots. That can be totally normal, especially if you're a first-time waxer. So what I would recommend is to just take it easy, no super hot showers. no exfoliating, and just keep it minimal on like the hydration and like what you're putting on your skin. I would say if you do get a reaction after waxing your legs, you can try to use some witch hazel, alcohol-free witch hazel. That's going to be gentle on the skin. It's a natural antiseptic. So it's gonna help soothe, cool down, but it's not gonna dry out the skin because it has no alcohol in it, okay? Keep it simple, and then the next 24 or 48 hours is gently exfoliate if you want to. You don't have to, and then just moisturize. This is what you're gonna do if you fall into a situation where your wax is just too gummy. I'm gonna lay that strip down. Like so. The reason you would run into this situation is because you're using significantly more wax, so it's not setting. It's not setting as fast as you would want it to, but you're already ready to remove. The only time I would say Nova's not ready to remove as soon as that stick is lifted from the strip is if you're doing a Brazilian or you're doing strips that require significantly more wax, okay? If I'm doing a Brazilian, I'm using a lot more wax than I normally would, so I am not going to remove that strip as soon as my stick has lifted from laying that strip. So you can see this isn't ready to remove because it's gummy, and if you fall into this situation and you're like, oh, what do I do? Stop doing that. Stop doing that. What you're gonna do is you're going to keep your fingers on there because now your fingers are stuck to it. Your gloves are stuck to it. So you're just gonna stay there. Now, if this is someone's vagina or butthole, this can be a little bit uncomfortable, okay? So what you can do is you can just take your glove off and just walk away. Walk away, give yourself a little pep talk, put a fresh glove on. That is now still setting on the client's skin, okay? And you're gonna let it set. You're gonna just leave it there, and you can communicate with the client and say, hey, you know what, that strip is still setting. We're gonna need a few more minutes or a few more seconds because you obviously don't want that strip on your client's skin for that long. And you're gonna go back once it's set. I'm gonna keep my hand here. And it's my left hand, okay? So I'm not really strong with my left hand, right? So you're just gonna, it's really about just kind of letting it sit for a little while to make sure that the wax strip has cooled enough so that it's pliable enough to remove. So the reason you're getting that gummy strip is because you're using a lot more wax and you're not letting it set long enough. If you get your gloves full of, and you're like, I don't know what to do. What do I do? It's all gummy and and then you're just doing this. Well, first of all, you're not gonna do that because that's a lot of wax, but I'm gonna show you how to get out of this, even with this ridiculous amount of wax. You're just gonna keep your hand shut like this. I also use vinyl gloves. I've found that this material is easier to work with when I'm waxing. It doesn't stick to the wax doesn't stick to the glove as aggressively. When I was using different types of material, I would find that it was constantly causing holes and my gloves would break and pop after a few strips. Not with vinyl gloves. With vinyl gloves, I'm able to work a lot longer and I'll double glove it. So if one pops, I pop that sucker right off and then I got a fresh glove right underneath. So I still have my hand shut here and you can see I slowly start to open it up. So you can see, like, just by keeping my hand shut and letting that wax dry a little bit more, it starts to come off on its own. See? My glove's clean. I can still use this glove. So instead of trying to fix it by doing so much and flailing your fingers and trying to get out of that sticky situation, you can just keep your hand shut and it's gonna start to adhere, and then you can just slowly pop the wax off and you're ready to go. That's with the vinyl glove though. Remember, that's key, vinyl glove.